Coming to you from the Paranormal Warehouse, Destination Mystery paints the story for paranormal content, abnormal adventures, and the fun behind the investigations. Each week, Mike and Melissa will bring a new adventure that includes going to some of the most remote places in the West. They will tell the story behind the investigation and share with you the evidence they discover. This is not your regular paranormal show. These episodes will bring new content from locations that no one would think to investigate or explore. We will not only tell the spooky story, we will go to the location where the spooky story originated. Fasten your seatbelts as we take you on an adventure that will make you question what's normal and what's paranormal. Hello, paranormal peeps and weird wanderers. Welcome to Destination Mysteries weekly live show. Going live is awesome. We're sorry to inform you that we will no longer be broadcasting on the Paranormal Warehouse, except for a live investigation from time to time. Something to do with Facebook no longer allowing them to have so many live shows on their network. So anyway, we are looking at revamping things and seeing what we can do to make our show a little better and our podcast a little better. And any suggestions from any of you would be greatly appreciated. And we will let you know soon what our new platform will be. And keep in mind that we're not going anywhere. We're still here. We just won't be on Paranormal Warehouse anymore. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. You can also follow my adventures on Ghost Girl Memoirs and Mike's on the Paranormal Treasure Hunter on Instagram. As you can see tonight, we have a special guest with us. His name is Rick Reles. He's with IKnowSquatch. If you follow them on Instagram, they have really cool. I ordered some stickers.
I like that.
And
like
Destiny got one for me.
I do like that.
Let us know when you get it. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Actually, I tried to order. I tried to order a T-shirt, and my husband's like, "Really? You need more Bigfoot?"
Yes.
I was like, "Okay, then that's what I want for Christmas. If I can't get it right now, I got that one."
Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, some really cool T-shirts and stickers and hats and beanies and all sorts of stuff, and several different designs too. Really cool website. And we have quite a few people joining in from Instagram tonight. Do you want to name them off, or can you tell?
I don't know their names because their Instagrams are different. But Jill is on Facebook and she said, "Hello, Wanderers," or Wandering Weirdos.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for joining. Okay, so if you're joining us via podcast tonight, we do a weekly show that used to be on the Paranormal Warehouse. Now we'll be doing a different platform. We'll let you know as soon as we find out what that is. It's every Wednesday at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. This may be changing. We don't know that for sure yet, but we'll keep you updated. If you miss the pictures and the evidence that we share, you can find these live shows on our Facebook or Instagram page at Destination Mystery Podcast. You can also get information on our website at www.destinationmystery.com. Okay, so now we're going to introduce Rick. Rick of IKnowSquatch has been researching the Sasquatch phenomenon in North America for over 10 years. He is a BFRO investigator in North Carolina and has had 3 visual sightings of his own. Rick has had numerous encounters and has written a field guide to stick structures built by Sasquatch. Cache Valley Bigfoot's watching. Thanks for joining in, John.
Oh, thank you.
There's the field guide if you want to see what it looks like. It even has his signature. At first, I thought it was special. Just kidding.
You are.
That's really cool. And
Thank you.
anyway, I checked it out, and it is really cool. I'm going to take that with me the next time we go, Mike. You're going to love it.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Michelle's on. Hi, Michelle. Anyway, that book is currently in its 3rd printing, but soon to be 4th.
Nice.
Yep.
And Rick has led many investigations and is still actively researching the phenomena as a BFRO investigator. Rick has been on numerous podcasts and has been a key speaker at several conferences around the United States. You can find his book and his research by going to facebook.com/I-know-squatch. Or you can find him on Instagram at IKnowSquatch. From there, you can click on the shop now link, and that's where you'll find all this cool stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Rick, is there anything I missed?
No, I mean, we've got clothing, hats, stickers, koozies, buttons, wristbands, field guides, all sorts of stuff. You can see us shop on Etsy, Instagram, follow us on Facebook, Twitter. But we're always updating, and we're always, trying to show things from the field. I do a lot of field research, and so visually, we're always sending some cool finds and things that from the field we get in. So, we want all our followers to, keep tuned into that. And then we, new artwork, new designs on a regular basis. So, we do all our own stuff ourselves, our own creatives. So, we think that's special.
That is pretty cool. There's no way I could draw what's on your t-shirt.
You did that yourself?
What's that?
You did that one yourself?
No, my partner did it. So
that's cool.
I have a partner, and he's a creative.
He's the artist, right?
Well, thank you. And there's a lot of stuff that there says "I believe," and you see a lot of the same old silhouette of Bigfoot. And but we do our own stuff, and our motto is knowing is better than believing. So that's what's behind IKnowSquatch. And for all those knowers out there, we try to keep the designs fresh.
Cool.
So I've never seen one before, but I believe, and I've seen signs, especially now that I look at your field guide, I'm like, I've seen a lot of that, but I didn't realize that's what I was looking at. So I'm excited to hear more about it. Michael, do you have the questions? Were you able to pull them up?
Ready for squatching.
Oh, Diane has joined us, and she's ready for some squatching.
Cool.
Thanks for joining, Diane.
Are we jumping right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I would like to hear about your 3 visual sightings, if you don't mind sharing those with us.
No, I'll keep them brief so we can, keep moving on. But, what happened with this is I was living in Wisconsin at the time, but traveling across the northern part of Wisconsin, northwest of Green Bay, actually. It's rural wooded forest. And with every time I've seen when I had someone with me or been with others, so I've had fortunate to have corroboration, but we saw them across the road, just about dusk, late November, and a large reddish brown creature that I saw bipedal come across 4 lanes just before dusk and leap over a fence that was down an embankment on the right. And we just were shocked, didn't know what it was. I was not looking for that. Within a couple of weeks, a gentleman I was with went into denial and said, it must have been an elk or a moose, but we don't have elk or moose in that part of the state. But I started to do more research on it. I went back and measured the fence. It was 5.5 foot tall, and I saw it go over it like a hurdler.
That's how tall I am.
Yeah. Well, it would have leaped over you unless it leaps and bounds, but I couldn't believe it. And that started me on my, research journey, if you will. I got actively involved with the BFRO, went on expeditions. The next time I saw one of these things, and I'm only referring to the Class A sightings. I've had many other times I've seen something, crawl across the trail or run down a trail or peek from behind a tree or thermal hits on imaging or night vision. I'm not counting any of that. I'm really only referring to the Class A sightings, but in northwestern Colorado on a BFRO expedition in August of 2016, I was with one of 5 individuals. We had them around us in a canyon, and I was smart enough to we had activity in front of us and around us to the back, and I was smart enough to look back down the path we had just traversed and saw one standing in the middle of the path. And it was a juvenile, about 6.5 foot tall, black. I still could see all the distinguishing features very well. It went back side to side, sort of like a second baseman or a third baseman or a shortstop. It went side to side, took 3 steps and went into the woods. And I could still see the facial features. There was no white in the eyes. The dark part of the pupil took up the whole face. Face was flat. No neck. The disproportionate limbs, arms and legs, they're all there. But that was a very positive visual sighting. And one of the other 4 people that were with me saw it too. She's a sheriff from New Mexico. She saw it too. So we had 2 on that positive sighting. And the third was in the spring of 2018. It was in the Appalachian Mountains, western part of Virginia. Again, I was one of 5 people. We were on the side of a mountain that goes down towards a lake. And 3 of us saw one come down a ravine towards us. We had activity again around us for quite a while. We were moving along the side of the mountain doing an inchworm technique, and we had attracted attention. But this big black, I'll call it alpha male Sasquatch, came down the ravine, and one of the people was with us. She saw it first. My attention was drawn to the left side of the ravine. We were looking up, and then all 3 of us saw it go across the ravine above us. We tried to recreate it the next day, put the tallest individual in our group up in that ravine, and he's 6'4", and this was easily 1.5 to 2 feet taller than him. So I like those 3, very positive visual sightings because I have detail and I have another witness to corroborate with me.
So that's what's got you into squatching, is that first encounter.
It did.
Joey has joined us. We want to say hi to Joey. And Stephanie joined us. Thanks. Hey, Steph.
Sorry, I exited out. Now I can't see it. Ariel,
thanks for joining.
Hunter.
And Hunter, thanks for joining. If any of you have any questions that you want to ask Rick while he's on, go ahead and type them in the comments, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. So continue, Mike.
What was going through your mind or during the first encounter?
Well, the first encounter was kind of disbelief, Mike. I mean, it's one of those things you just can't believe what's crossing in front of you. You don't expect it. You can't rationalize it, and then you can't orient it. So it's kind of a disbelief thing. And as I said, the other guy that was with me went into denial, then in the weeks after, must have been something. But I knew it was something special. And I very positively saw the arms swinging and the legs moving bipedally. And I knew it wasn't a bear. I knew it wasn't on all 4s. I saw it when it hurdled that fence. I knew it was something special. And that really drove me, to go after this, from a research standpoint, figure out what it was. So, that's what went through my mind.
Wow. Fear or excitement?
I think with that one, it was excitement, but I'm glad you brought that up. The second time it was excitement, adrenaline more so because it was so positive. I mean, the second one I saw at about, I'd say 80 feet. The third one was fear. I've heard on your show, you've talked to some other, Bigfoot folks about zapping or getting that intimidation, the fight or flight feeling. I got that the third time for sure. And, to the point I really couldn't walk forward. I was stuck on the trail. I couldn't go far. I tried to push through it. I've been zapped before a couple other times, but this one was, it was just overwhelming. Like I had a weight on my shoulders, couldn't move. It was difficult. So all 3, I guess I had different experience feeling wise.
What do you think that zapped type feeling was?
Well, some folks think the infrasound or their ability to vocalize at a level we can't hear, a low frequency, it's intimidating. I mean, infrasound gets used, a lot of predatory animals use it. I know you've discussed that in your show before for your listeners. It's used for crowd control in different parts of the world with rioting and things, but it does immobilize you. It does keep you from moving. So if that's their ability to utilize a lower frequency to get their prey to not move, say a deer, and when turned on humans, it gives us the fight or flight or the disorientation. It's unsettling. It's not a great feeling. It's working if that's what their intention is. And, I've seen people get nauseous from it. I've seen women break down in tears. So, because I do a lot of research, I'm out in the woods continually with this phenomenon. And, I've seen people, disoriented to the point they don't know where they are. So it can be very strenuous.
Do you think they are able to turn on and off the infrasound if that's what it is when they need or want to?
I do from experience, and I do from interviewing witnesses who have been overwhelmed by it. I've heard it described almost like a bullet going through their leg or their shoulder. I've felt it feel like electricity, like you put a screwdriver in a socket. I felt it like an overwhelming weight, or I felt it once in the middle of my back, like it hit me, like something touched me. So I think, yes, to answer your question, Melissa, I think they can turn it on, and I think directionally they can utilize it to the best of their advantage.
Michelle is asking, she used to live in Colorado, and she wants to know whereabouts your sighting was, if you don't mind sharing.
So I was on a BFRO expedition. We signed a non-disclosure agreement, and so I cannot give the site
That's
away.
okay. That's okay.
I can say that it was in northwestern Colorado, and I was within a couple hours of Steamboat Springs.
Okay. Hi, Kaylin. She just joined too.
Who? Who was it? Kaylin?
Kaylin.
Oh.
My other daughter.
She should be at work.
But I didn't give. Oh.
My daughter.
I did first too. So the reason I asked about being able to turn that infrasound on and off is, I don't know if you heard our Shorty's Gulch episode, but we really think that we might have encountered one. We didn't see it, but it was just the strangest feeling that I've ever had. It was like I was scared to death for no reason, and I just couldn't wait to get out of there. But then there are other times when I've seen not seen one, but signs of one, and thought maybe one was nearby because of a fresh print or whatever, but didn't feel the same thing. So I wonder if it's them turning it on for protection or to scare us away, or I don't know. But I do believe that it's possible for them to have it.
Yeah. So let me try to address that. I think they use it in a favorable way for them if they want humans to get away from them. Like if we happen to wander into an area where they have young, children, that sort of thing, why would they want you there? So they'll intimidate you and drive you out of there. And, it works. It works with hunters. I've interviewed a lot of hunters who have been in that situation, say they'll never go back and hunt that land or that area in the woods again. So it's intimidating. It does drive you out of there. I've been with people who have gotten zapped and others in the group have not. I was with a group once, quick story. I was on an expedition in west central part of Wisconsin a few years ago, and there were 4 males, 1 female in the group. We were in a very, very pitch black dark area, not to get all weird, but we saw a white orb move across the field as we were getting into this dark area in the woods on a hill. We knew they were around. We could hear movement, but we did some things to attract us. We played music to attract them to us, played music, had some small lights go on and off. And they must have felt it was obnoxious and didn't want us being there. So, they started to break sticks and do things that they do to intimidate, stomp on the ground and make noise. And we got the message, said, all right, we're going to go. We started to walk away. And one by one, male members of the group started to get zapped. For the furthest one back away, then the next, and all 4 of us, it was like you walked into a wall, like a wall of electricity and heavy weight, and it stopped some of us in our tracks. And the female in the group, nothing. She kept right on walking, didn't feel a thing. So so they can decide who they want to intimidate. I've seen them intimidate the tallest member of a group when we stepped into an area or hiked into an area where they were around. It's like they'll pick out the alpha in the group or who they think is the leader in the group and give them the fight or flight or the zapping. So I think they can directionally point it where they want to. It's not a blanket type thing. I think they can use it as they need to, and it's effective.
That's interesting.
That is very interesting. Remember those 2 pictures, Melissa, I showed you after that incident? I have a white orb in there.
Oh.
I didn't think anything of it.
One of the theories on the white orbs is that the infrasound gives off at a certain frequency. That's how the lights are formed, basically. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Because there's a lot of sightings.
I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that theory, Melissa. I'm not going to discount it. The longer you get into this thing, all right, and I'll just, because people, and maybe your listeners or yourself wondering, all right, where's Rick on this? I started out thinking this was a relic hominid or some type of primate. an ape in the woods, undiscovered, etc. Very scientific. Then the longer you're around this phenomena, the more, and I've done, hundreds of I spent hundreds of days in the woods and a lot of investigation with witnesses, those sorts of things. The more things come up as evidence that you can't explain, naturally or physically. So I think there's a set of evidence that's physical and of this world. The footprints, footprint casts, stick structures, the recordings, howls, etc. We can all relate to that. And then there's a lot of things that go on, that like an orb or those sorts of things. I don't discount that stuff, and there's some folks that have been around this that are pretty dogmatic and say, well, we can't consider that. That's not right. I don't believe it. But I'm open-minded to it, and that's because it happens in repeat fashion. So you mentioned the orb. I was in the Smokies on an expedition 4 weeks ago with a group of 5 up on a mountain. I saw a white orb. They were around us, and 3 of us saw it. We watched it come right down a ravine in the pitch black and in the dark, and we had Bigfoot activity around us. Do I know what it was? Do I think it was infrasound that was manifesting itself as a white orb? I do not know. But it happens around these things, and I'm not discounting it. I'm not afraid to tell people that I saw that. We cast a footprint the next day. Okay, the footprints, physical evidence. The orb, am I going to discount and say it didn't happen? No, it's evidence also. So I'm open-minded. I think the longer you're around this, maybe the more open-minded you should become.
So Cache Valley Bigfoot is asking if the Zap is more or less the Bigfoot's personality. What?
So do you think that Bigfoot Zap more or less based on their own personality?
Did you hear that?
So I think they zap based on their own personality?
More or less on their personality.
See, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. So that opens up, if it does. So zapping too, again, we don't know what it is. If we're thinking it's infrasound, and it does happen to people. And I've experienced it's not pleasant. I do think directionally they can control it, and they can, hit whoever they want with it. But if it's a reflection of their personality, I don't know that. If you ask me, do I think there's good Bigfoots and not so good ones? Yeah, I do. Just like people. I think these things are forest people. They have different personalities, different characteristics. There's probably good ones and probably not so good ones. But I don't know that I would say just the bad ones do it. I think this is a tool in their arsenal, and they use it as they need to.
I can see where they would target the alpha male to get him away from family or something. And I can also see them not targeting maybe the female to not want to scare her. Maybe
they're not threatened by her.
Well, maybe they've scared them before and don't. They have families. They don't want to hear it or, scare them half to death. Yeah. But that experience that we had, we were doing a different investigation, and we were in a mine shaft, and I have a handheld thermal imager where you squeeze the trigger. It's about an inch square. And then in my right hand, I hold that in my left hand. In my right hand, I hold my camera, and so I can record anything that I see. And sometimes, my phone's hanging down to my side, and sometimes it's up there. Sometimes I have it on. Sometimes I have it off. Sometimes I bump it. So we got a few pictures of things that I didn't realize I took. But while we were doing that investigation, that's when I've never felt that feeling before in my life, but we couldn't get out of there fast enough. So when I looked down the back of the mine shaft, nothing. When I looked down one of the tunnels, nothing. But when I looked to the entrance, something about the direction of the entrance just bothered me to death. So we got out of there and left. And by then we crossed through that area, went to our ATVs, and that sense was back the direction we came from. It wasn't like it was all around us. It was a specific location that was just bothering us. And at that point, I must have had my camera on, because I did get an orb, a white orb, and I never thought anything of it until you mentioned that. And when we got back to camp, my daughter said she saw something white in the trail. And my sister and her heard, what was it? Tell me what you heard.
We heard footsteps, like running, like fast. And it was hard. It was hard. It was like boom, 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 boom.
So was the mine shaft, I'm assuming it's in a mountain in the woods or forested around there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not very big diameter. You couldn't fit through it very well, but it wasn't like in the shaft. It was the entrance, near the entrance somewhere, that was bothering me.
Yes, it was in a very remote foresty area.
Yeah.
Well, so it's possible. So unless you were in the mine shaft, maybe you had some paranormal activity. I assume you were monitoring or investigating, paranormal ghost type behavior. Unless it emanated from that or manifested from that somehow. If there were Bigfoot around there, Bigfoot are underground dwellers, will use caves. Maybe you were in a mine shaft that they frequent and go in, and they just certainly didn't want you in there. And that's one way to get you out or give you that feeling.
We wondered that. So when we got back to camp, I was looking through my pictures, and my daughter was telling a story about the white figure. And just then I went through the second picture I got, which, I mean, it's so faint, but there is an outline of a white crouching figure. You can see arms, legs, chest, but it's very, very faint. And I probably wouldn't have noticed that either had she not said it at the same time. But that area was void of bugs, of noise, of birds. I mean, it was dead silent the whole time we were there.
Both times we went, it was the same way.
Yeah. And we went back to camp. The next day, my cousins wanted to check it out. So we drove back down there and got, there was nothing, no feeling, no birds were chirping. It was noisy. And so a week later, we decided to go back and check it out again. And we got there about the same time, just as the sun's going down. And I hopped off my four-wheeler and walked across the road. We saw the right footprint. I bet, how many tracks? 12?
Yeah.
It crossed the road, walked up the side of the road, but its left foot was in the hard dirt where the tires would go on the truck. And the right foot was in the softer dirt, needles. And you could see 10 or 12 tracks, and one of them had to have been it was a little guy.
Really?
And yeah, just one of them. And it was facing, so it was the big one was headed north and south, and the baby one was right, like it was standing on, I don't know if you've ever held a little kid's hand and they walk on your feet, but it was right up, like it was tangling into her feet as it walked along. And then it made a sharp turn and headed straight up this mountainside. And that's the only experience we've ever had. So that fight or flight we had the week before, what was that? Because I've never felt that before in my life. Yeah. But then seeing those prints the next week, we were wondering what the heck.
So a couple things. One, I've been on enough investigations with these things, night type investigations through night hikes. Or when they're around, the forest will go dead quiet. So, everything from tree frogs to cicadas to, anything, and even mice in the leaf litter, everything just stops. So I would say that jives. That's a common thing. That happens a lot when they're active and they're around. When they howl, the coyotes would go crazy and, that sort of thing. But, if they initiate noise, other animals, wildlife, a lot of times will follow, but it could get real quiet if they're around and they're trying to remain stealth. When you saw those tracks there, were they in the middle of the road or side of the road? Where were they?
They were on the right-hand side. So it looked like the left foot was in a tire track, the hard part of the road. And the right foot was just off to where, like the outside of the foot, the right side of the right foot was deeper than the left side of the right foot. Does that make sense? Because it's going from soft to really hard road.
But it wasn't really a road. It was not a road that cars travel on. It was like a ATV trail.
Right.
But it was pretty hard.
Sure. Well, my experience with Bigfoot tracks is they typically will favor one side of the road or the other. They rarely will go down the middle of the road, if ever. And they will do what they can to not leave footprints. If they leave a footprint, it's on purpose. They're marking and they're letting you know. If you're in an area where they are and they want to let you know they're there, they'll put a footprint down. But and you'll see it. I had one leap one in the middle of a wet trail about 4 weeks ago in the Smokies, and it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We were scouting, and it was on purpose just to let us know it was there. But they will edge the road when they walk. You'll see a straight line pattern of the footprints too, so it doesn't stagger. And it's not like a bear or an animal that walks so it staggers in its footprints. A bear will walk in its own prints, but it's not that. They will be like a runway model in a straight line.
So these came down from one side of the mountain, crossed where a tree had been laying, so you couldn't see any. You could see where it was disturbed, but you couldn't make out a track. And then it crossed the road at a diagonal, but the road was pretty hard. But then you could see the tracks come out the other side, and the outside print of it was pretty distinct. And all of a sudden, it made a 90-degree and went up that mountain. I don't know if somebody came down the road or what it was, but you could see just where it scratched into the side. No distinct track at all, but shoved its feet into it as it shot up the side of that mountain, and it was pretty cool to see.
These things can go up a very steep incline too. It's shocking. I've actually seen some footage of that where they go right up, and you get witness reports, and they'll say there's no way they could have believed they went up a vertical or an incline that was there, but they'll do it. They get around in the woods like a ninja. It's quick. My experience in seeing them move in the woods is it's fast like a ninja. It's like they're on roller skates. And whether it's a decline or an incline, it doesn't matter. It doesn't slow them down.
Mm-hmm. I was tempted to go up there, but there's no way I was going to be able to climb that. I never would have made it.
Couldn't even have gone up there on our four-wheelers.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. You going to go back there?
Oh yeah. The next chance I get, I want to go back. I want to get
I want to see one really bad, but not at a close range. From a distance.
Well, so if I could, interject, if you're going back, you've been there a couple of times. They know who you are. If they are there and they didn't want you in that mine shaft, you go back. You might want to, take the Native American way. And I know you've had other speakers on your show talk about this. I subscribe to it, but talk to them. When you get there, announce yourself, talk to them. I've been here before. Mean no harm. This is your part of the world. We're just visiting. We're not going to be here. Tell them an hour or two. We're going to leave. We're not going to destroy anything. We're not hunting. We're not hunting you. We're not trying to trick you. Get pictures. We know you're there. You never know. You do something like that. You knock. Maybe if there's two of you there, say do 2 light knocks. You're basically opening the door for conversation with them. And you'd be surprised how often it works and you get feedback.
I never thought of that. That's a good idea.
I'm saying, given the situation that you were in there, they gave you the, all right, get out of here intimidation route. Now if you're going back, you may want to, you could leave some apples, let them know, hey, I've been here, especially if you're going back, you've been there before, but don't get in a situation where you're trying to trick them, set up a bunch of cameras and I'm going to catch them as they walk down this trail or go up to the side incline again. It's not going to happen. You can't out-tech these things. But you get your best experience. When you get out of the car, bring a recorder and turn it on as soon as you get there. If you're walking or hiking around, have one with you. Leave one at the car. But talk to them and don't be afraid to engage in a little bit of dialogue. Don't be banging on, knocking on things, pots and pans like an Olympic sport or anything. But that drives them crazy. You wouldn't like that if somebody was doing that in your yard. But if you get there and you think they've been there before, I'd say even more cause to try and have some dialogue. But do it with respect.
That makes sense. I mean, the more respect we have for the spirits we encounter, the better results we get. So,
yep.
This place that we've been going to it for years and years. It's right near a ghost town, and it's heavily wooded. But God, ever since we were a little kid, we've been going there. But I never thought about there being one in that area. And this mine shaft I found a few years ago. And I've been in it several times a year for the last several years and never got that feeling before. That's what was so interesting about it. I think we need to take some apples and some Nutella and put out there.
Hey, well, yeah, you never know with Nutella. I mean, there's been, maybe you've seen, but there's some pretty good prints that have been, gotten with that stuff. So just a couple of, on the same, I think if you've been going there for years, Bigfoot's are great observers. By the way, there's not one of them there, Mike. There's a family or a group, because there's never one of them. And they probably have seen you there before, through the ages, know who you are. So assume that when you go. I'm back. Talk to them, let them know, and maybe gift a little bit or try to talk. You never know. Maybe over time, when if you get a dialogue, you'll show up there in the future. Somebody get out of your vehicle and they'll knock right away, or they'll make a whoop sound. You'll be able to talk back and forth. And if they're accepting of you because you've been there for years, maybe they just didn't like you in the mine shaft. And you can have a, collegiate type of relationship with them. You'd be surprised. That's when it's best.
Chris just joined. Hi, Chris.
So you don't think they're migratory? You think they stay in one place?
I think they move. I don't think they're migratory, like an aviary or, bird type patterns. I think, Native Americans would say they would move. They'll move from one area to another. They'll follow food. All right. So whether it's deer or crops or omnivores, so they're going to go where food and food patterns are, food availability is. I think they'll go with that. Do I think they migrate, great distances? No. It wouldn't surprise me if they travel a couple 100 miles back and forth. I've talked to people who've studied some of this right here in the Blue Ridge. I talked to an investigator at a show earlier this year who was telling me how he tracked them moving up and down the Blue Ridge Mountains every year. I knew of an area, Native Americans used to say that, they followed where the crops were in the rice paddies years and years ago up in the Midwest. So, I think they follow food patterns and they'll follow the deer, obviously. And they're going to harvest food along the way wherever they can. They're very opportunistic feeders. They're omnivores, can eat a lot of different things, and they're going to go where the food is.
Michelle says that we need to take Jack Link's jerky with us.
I think I'd eat that.
Yeah. If we're taking that, I get it first.
Yeah.
I take it on expeditions all the time.
You do?
So we have quite a few people also asking, they want to hear more about your field guide. You want to talk about that?
Yeah,
yes.
Cool. So I appreciate you holding that up. And, it's kind of funny with that field guide, there's not a lot of really. So I was talking to Cliff Barrickman at an Ohio Bigfoot conference last year about it. And he said, it's an underserved area of research in the Bigfoot world. And I think it really is. I had a research area in central eastern Wisconsin that had a couple of, at least two, maybe more social groups of these things. And they were active with this. I'd see them build areas of this. So I did a lot of documentation. A lot of people submit them to me over the years from investigations I've done, the different expeditions I've been on. I've taken pictures of these things from, Florida to British Columbia, and they're the same patterns. They do the same type of things. It's crazy. So I categorize them in the book. If you flip, open, there's the table of contents right in the first part of it, and I list the different types. I added a section for ground glyphs in this one. I'm going to expand on that in the next, but they do the same sorts of things, whether it's arches or hoops that they bend over, the asterisks. That's my favorite when they do those. They'll do those, and these acute angles are these ones that are shaped, like this, that are broken off. Up top, I was watching a paranormal show earlier today, and there was a guy in Australia talking about these and investigates the Yowie there, which is a Bigfoot type of equivalent. And they do the same things there. He was showing, he had film of them and the same type of breaks. So, and I'm always a skeptic and try to dismiss the deadfall or the results of gravity,
right,
where a tree bends over towards water, wind breaks, things like that. But, if you look at it and you see the structure and something looks like it's been brought in artificially or imported into the structure, an asterisk that's been built or engineered, if there's symmetry in these things, the way they look, it's purposeful. And Bigfoots do these. And, you could ask, why do they do it? I don't have all the answers. I'm not in their head. I don't know. But they do it repeatedly, and they do the same sorts of things in areas that they habituate and live.
Mike, as I'm looking through these pictures, we've seen a lot of this.
Have we?
But,
do you have any you can put on the TV or the what is this called? Monitor?
I don't have. I mean, I have one that I took a while ago that I was gonna get your take on.
Cache Valley Bigfoot says he agrees with their movie.
Cache Valley Bigfoot says he agrees with they're moving and following food.
Cool.
I kind of do that myself, so
I mean, it makes sense.
makes sense.
I don't know. Like, here's an arch one. You can see that.
Cool.
How many times has one of your kids jumped on an arch like that and swung around?
And maybe, Melissa, maybe the kids are making them for them. I had one area I watched them build these up, and went in with another researcher, and he and I were looking at it over the course of a year, and they went from zero to a whole bunch of these things. And year end, they're all taken down. And he used to say he thought the kids played on them, the arches that are bent over. If you find those arches, they'll strip all the side twigs and branches off, and then they'll stick the pointed end of the arch down in the ground 6 inches. So, it's possible. Maybe it is their kids that are doing. Who knows? But it's a consistency. That arch is one. I've seen those arches in a row, like croquet hoops, wickets, one after another, leading right down to a swamp. So, there's a purpose behind it, but it could be the kids being playful too.
Have you ever found?
Oh, go ahead.
Have you found hair or anything on them before?
Yes, I have found hair. I've gifted things, left things in the center of them. So where if you look, I'll show a picture. We see like when you get the X type, or you
We've
have the
seen
one
that before too.
Yeah, and they'll prop things up. The members of the X or the asterisk, the pieces that are in there are typically have symmetry, are the same size. They'll take the bark off, but they're typically the same size. And a lot of time the root ball is up in the air. But where that locus is in the center of those things, it's a great place to, leave some apples. I've very successfully done that and had them take those things, even if they're up high. They'll take them away. Sometimes they'll bring things back. They'll put a rock there where the apple was. So it's a good place for interchange. I recommend a lot of times people don't, if they have them on the edge of their property or in woods behind, they don't take them down. I've heard of situations where, the big X has been taken down or the asterisk taken down, and the Bigfoots then are disruptive on the property. I always put it in those terms. So if I would respect it, and if they're up, respect it and see it. But if they're there, there's a good chance Bigfoots are going to frequent the area or keep an eye on that. I've had lots of experiences around these things. If I find an area with them when I scout during the woods, go back to it at night, a lot of times we have experience.
That's a really good idea. Leaving them a gift there.
I've never thought about that.
Then there's also like these tree breaks. Do you see that, Mike?
Yeah.
Or bends even. Yep. And how many times have we seen that?
A lot.
In fact, that same area that we were in, was slightly north at Birch Creek. Remember when we were on the ATV trail and there was like every 6 feet or more, there was one on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
About the same height.
Yeah. And it was tall. I mean, it was way higher than me.
Yeah, that tall. So that one that I call an acute angle break, or right, sometimes it's right angle, but a lot of times it's more than that. They'll be twisted, right off. So it takes, I use my hands, but it takes opposable thumbs and a couple of hands to twist or bend those things to do that.
That's a lot of muscle.
Yeah, and you'll see it up 7, 8 feet, 9 feet in the air. Sometimes you'll see two, one right next to another. I've seen them where they've had sentries. So Bigfoots that have a job for the group to observe, say horse trails or trailheads where people come in. And I've seen them up on high-rise areas above that at a viewing point, one right next to another. And I often think that it indicates how many of them are there watching, but I've seen them at a sentry lookout station too. So I think these have meanings for Bigfoots. A lot of, we superimpose our own belief on it. We'll say, well, the X means to us, don't go past this. And I'm not really there on that. I think they do these things for themselves, and I say that in my book, so whether it's a clan marker, family marker, or indication of, being a male presence or a female presence, we got to be open-minded about that. A lot of these things line up to Native American symbols too. So you can find the X or the asterisk, the arch, those are all parts of Native American symbols.
What does the asterisk look like? Do you have a picture of that?
I do. I've got.
Is that like a teepee looking thing? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's more of, here's, if you can see this, there's a good one with a researcher friend of mine standing behind it, but it's, all the pieces and how it focuses together in the middle.
Cash-Valley Bigfoot is wondering what is it?
So, an asterisk where all the members are the same size and they put it all together and it's held together in the middle. Sometimes they'll jam that in between two trees or the bifurcation point in the tree, but they'll do it there. But you can see it's artificial. A lot of times it's up high off the ground too, and you look at it and go, how that didn't randomly fall there.
Couldn't have happened naturally.
Right.
Cache Valley Bigfoot is wondering if you know what might be their.
It says, what is a danger warning?
A danger warning tree structure. Have you had experience with that, or?
So is he asking, which of the stick structures is a danger warning, or have I had a danger warning type thing around them?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So I don't know that any of them indicates a danger warning or don't go further or don't go past this point sort of thing. I don't get that sense from them. I think they're for them functionally or some type of symbol, but I don't think it means, like a danger, like a skull and crossbones saying don't go past this, or they're trying to do that for us. It could be a territorial marker, but I don't know that it's a danger warning of any kind.
I have a picture that I took a couple of years ago that I always thought was kind of weird because it was random and in the middle of nowhere. I mean, a human could have done it, but I just thought it was strange because of the location. I wanted to share it.
Cool.
Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
What do you think about that?
So that's a TP without any branches on the side. So my guess and look at that is the Boy Scouts built that.
That's okay. Fine.
How far in the middle of nowhere was it?
It was in that crater that we go to.
Above my house?
Yeah.
Oh.
By the caves, ice caves.
Oh yeah, we hiked.
That may have been a.
So you have to hike pretty. Oh, that was you?
Maybe we built something down there once.
Oh man, see, I thought I had something.
Sorry.
Cool. Okay. Skylar joined us. Hey, Skylar.
What? I've seen people talk about Bigfoot building something like that, but for him to sleep under or get in from the rain, that's not doing either one of those things. I mean, Bigfoot's way bigger than that, and it's not keeping the elements off of him. So I kind of find that hard to believe on some of those that they're using it for that purpose. But what do you think?
I agree with that. So I think when they do the TP, and to the point, Melissa, it's good. I've seen that type of thing where I can attribute it to Bigfoot. They'll put those sometimes where they'll lean them up against a tree on the top of a hill over a horse trail. So I think, Mike, they use them for observation, or they might put some foliage up against it during one season to just keep them out of the way so they can watch. I mean, these things are incredible observers of human activity. I mean, we're their TV set, and they will watch horses and people go by. They'll watch kids play. I mean, we get reports. I've investigated reports to these things, watching kids around campfires or at summer camps, over horse trails, and I've gone and investigated and found these type of structures and viewing points. I've seen them. I investigated once in upstate New York, and they had built these things near a church, and the pastor was seeing them, watching the congregation on Wednesday nights and on Saturdays and Sundays, singing and everything. They were listening, but they'll do some things to kind of keep themselves so they can't be seen, but they'll be right there watching and observing. So I think sometimes they'll build them for those reasons.
We have seen structures like this too, Mike.
Yes.
See, those I can see, but the ones I was referring to were like 4 sticks, and they're all, staggered 2 feet apart. And yeah, they're using that to get out of the rain. And I'm thinking, if they've got pine boughs and foliage on them, yeah, that makes total sense. But the 4 or 5 sticks on top, it wasn't making a whole lot of sense. Maybe they're
just creating crafts.
Kids playing, yeah. But
sure.
The guy was saying it was to get out of the weather, and
No.
Well, there's only 4 sticks on this one, so I don't think that's what he's doing. But
Could have been bored. He was trying to create a nice piece of art.
of course, my
Right.
kids will stack sticks up like that too. So
Sure. It could be kids. They could be using it, like I said, temporary foliage to view an area, and then they leave only the 4 members of the structure up, and so it could be things like that too.
if they leave an area, do they take most of it down?
I've seen them take these things down. Do they leave the area? I think they come back to the area a lot. They seem to be creatures of habit. I don't think they roam we used to think, Bigfoot, there's one creature out in the West Coast, Northern California, wandering by itself. And, it shows up different places. I don't think that at all. They're in groups, and I think they frequent, when they have territory, they're in that area, I think, for the long haul.
Cache Valley Bigfoot said in the Ridge Walker video taken by the scout troops, the scouts did find a structure.
So Cache Valley Bigfoot is saying that in the Ridge Walker video taken by the scout troop, did the scouts find a structure? Do you know anything about that?
No, I do not. I know of the video, and I have seen. I'll have to go back and revisit it. That's a very good question. That's a good video. I'll go back and look at it. I remember that. That's a good question. I'll have to review it again. I know they weren't able to figure what that was. It wasn't the Boy Scouts that built it. That could be a Bigfoot structure. There's a lot. You get out in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of those nest type, teepee type structures that are seen out there, viewed. There's a number of them. I saw some pictures of Cliff Barrickman and some of them last year he showed me. So, that's possible. I'll take a look at that again.
Is that the one where they see something really high up walking along the ridge? Is that the video?
So, yeah.
It seems like there was something in that video where they found a nest or something.
There was a structure, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch it again too. I kind of forgot about that. Urbex just joined, and Bella. Hello, Bella. I wanted to show you the tree break that I don't have a lot of pictures. I'm gonna start taking more. But if you can see that tree right there next to the 4-wheeler, that trail had them about how many feet apart do you think they were, Mike?
I can see 2 in the picture, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Not very far apart, but they were quite a ways too.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like they had a twist and not just a break.
Sure.
Yeah,
and that's
most of them did. Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the things you want to look for. Yeah, you want to look for that twist, not just the break. But when they're parallel or right next to a trail, they'll do that a lot. I've seen them right at the trailhead where they'll do that. Then it's up 8-9 feet in the air kind of thing often. So it's in the right position. It's possible.
Another time we were out hiking in the canyon, and there were trees like this all over the place. And this one is fairly low to the ground, but others were like, I would have had to reach my arm up over my head in order to be where the break was. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Well, I've seen them throw a tantrum and break these things, in the woods. I was in the northern part of Georgia on an expedition about 1.5 years ago, and one of these things threw a tantrum going up a hill above us about 12:30 at night, just tore everything down on the way up for about 1.5 minutes. We heard it. And we got in there next day, and they were just tearing trees apart and tearing them down. So they can be noisy if they're not happy, and I think they can tear things down to intimidate. I was among a group of these things in the Smokies a few weeks ago, and things were going pretty well, and then somebody turned on a white light in the group overhead, and they got mad down below us in the ravine and just tore a tree down. So tearing the trees down that's a primate behavior, but they'll do that if they're not happy, and they'll do it around people. That's common Bigfoot behavior.
I had another question and I just forgot what it was. But Mike, did you have anything? We're about out of time. Is there anything else you want to add?
Did you have those tracks? Was that in those pictures?
I do have them, but they're kind of hard to see. I'll pull them up.
The pictures I took just doesn't do it justice.
Mine either. And we didn't have our casting equipment with us.
Well, I had it back at the trailer, but I just kept telling myself, I talked myself out of it, just like you were saying. They look like it. No, it can't possibly be, because I'm not that lucky. Well, it sure looks like it. No, I can't. I just talked myself out of them. I'm kicking myself now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see these very well, but I'll pull it up.
Yeah, always have a casting kit.
Well,
Interesting.
It
doesn't look human.
No.
Yeah, and you can see it's got toes. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a very good picture.
Try.
We need to learn how to investigate that stuff better and take better evidence.
Take your editing feature on your computer or phone and use yellow and try to draw out the footprint. See if you can draw the toes and other things just to kind of recreate.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Try to see.
Emily just joined. Hi, Emily. I have one big question. Sure. If we wanted to get into joining the BFRO or Bigfoot expeditions of our own, do you have any advice for us?
Yeah, I'd go, get on the Bigfoot or the BFRO site. Start to look at reports in your area. You can pull them up by county. The investigators have investigated them over time, and you can see what goes on in the geography you're interested in. If you want to get involved in an expedition, the BFRO posts expeditions annually, and they'll put them out there, and then you can apply. You go through a questioning process to be a part of it, et cetera. There's NDA and medical and all that kind of thing. But then I would say go on an expedition, and you can learn from other Bigfoot researchers, investigators that help host the expedition. And you can get out in the woods at night, and like I said in the beginning of your show, you can't learn about Bigfoot from your living room. I always tell people get out. There's a lot of online talk about things, but there's not as many people that get out and do this. And so I think it's great that you guys are out doing some of this and trying to learn about it. Those are next steps I would take. Get on an expedition, see what it's all about.
It's our favorite thing to do, I think.
Oh, it's my favorite thing to do, that's for sure. And it wouldn't be any fun doing it from the living room. I'd rather be out in the woods. Real quick.
Shoot.
Have you ever seen them in a desert type area where it's mostly sagebrush but pockets of trees?
So I've heard of it. I've not seen it, and I've not done Bigfooting in desert type areas. I did get up in the mountains above, north of Las Vegas once, doing a little of this, but I have not had experiences in it or seen it. That does not mean, they are not there. If there's any kind of forested area that they can get to and there's sustenance, they could be there. I think there's a lot more of these things, Mike, than, we think. And I think they're spread out and live wherever they can. So for us to think it's a small, limited population or just isolated population on the West Coast, forget it. There's a lot of them. And I want to say other thing too, because I listened to a few of your shows and things. But I was at a paranormal convention in Johnson City, Tennessee, a few weeks ago, and comparing notes. But I think one of the conclusions we came up with is it doesn't matter how you get into the paranormal, if it's UFOs or ghosts or Bigfoot. After a while, they all seem to intersect and crisscross, and one leans into another. So as crazy as that is, you just got to be ready for it.
I agree with that.
The reason I ask is we were camping up in a desert. I like to go out where there's absolutely no humans at all. And we were in a pretty isolated part of the desert, but it had canyons and not steep ones, but small enough you could walk in and nobody'd see you from very far away.
There were also lots of caves, Mike.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are lots of caves. But, we're always whooping every once in a while just to see if we get a response. And one evening we got one, and we kind of answered back and forth for a while. We don't know what it was, but, there's nothing out there but coyotes and antelope. And no humans for miles and miles and miles. So whatever it was kind of whooping back at us. And I was always curious to know what that was.
Well, record it. So a whoop is typically, if they're whooping in response to you, that's engagement. That's a good thing. They'll whoop to each other. I've heard them whoop when they're excited when you arrive at a place. A week ago, I was in the woods in a research area, and they whooped like crazy when I got there. So, that's not a bad thing what you went through.
Any advice on a cheap parabolic mic that we could purchase?
Yeah, I can give you some advice on that. And anytime again, if we get a chance to talk to you guys on one of these shows, we could talk about equipment or other things. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on a parabolic. So even the cheap listening devices that you can get, they're $30, $40 on Amazon. Get one of those. Make sure the cone, the clear plastic cone that sits on the end, is attached. Get some Gorilla Tape and make sure it won't move from there. And throw out the headphones that come with it and put a good set of headphones on it that you can listen with, and you're in business. All you need is that thing directionally to point, and it's worth its weight in gold when you're out in the woods. Every group that I always go out with, I have 5, 6, 7 people. We always have recorders, we have night vision equipment, but somebody always have a parabolic mic going and turning 360 all the time, because you pick stuff up with it. And you can hook a recorder into those things on the side too, and you can record through them.
That's a good idea.
We tried to record those whoops with our phone, and when I sent them to Melissa, she heard something entirely different than what we were hearing. Wow. So
it was really windy, and so I couldn't hear much. I had to clean out that background noise, the wind. And once I cleaned it all out, I could hear like this clicking noise. It was like talking back and forth, but it was clicking and not like. Wow. Have you ever heard that?
Well,
but that was only after I cleaned it up, so I don't know if it was like, I don't know.
I've heard all kinds of weird sounds with Bigfoots in the woods, so we could talk about that for a long time.
There's another episode.
Oh my gosh! Well, they're great mimics, and they're fascinated with sounds they hear, and they make all kinds of sounds, and they've got the capability of making all kinds of sounds. So it's possible you got clicking. It's possible. So it does. I have no doubt recording stuff sounds different sometimes than what was recorded. But the best thing you can do is get the recorders going as soon as you arrive at any place like that, anywhere in the woods, and then listen to it later and examine it. You'd be surprised at stuff you get.
Jill says they whoop during the rutting season.
It might be. I don't know. I think the kids whoop a lot, more so than the adults, and they'll do it back and forth. I've witnessed that or heard that before. But when you get a good whoop and you hear it, it rises towards the end. It goes up, whoop, it goes up higher towards the end. That's really cool.
When you said something about mimicking, do they mimic actions too, by chance?
Like what? What kind of actions?
Well, last weekend we went to down by a river by our house, and it's kind of remote, and we sat there for an hour throwing rocks in the water. Mm-hmm. And no fish jump, no movement in the water whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, this rock the size of my dog comes flying out and lands in the water, and it went way farther than we could throw. Mm-hmm. And me and my 2 daughters sat there and looked at it. Nobody said anything because we were like waiting for it to come back up because maybe it was a bird or something. We wait, nothing ever popped back up, and all of us at the same time said, "That came from the sky."
Nice.
I have no idea what that would have been, but it came from the sky. All 3 of us said it at the same time, and it was a lot farther out in the water than we could have thrown. And it was big, as big as this dog right here.
Yeah, they love to throw rocks in the water. That's Bigfoot behavior too. So it could be that's what you had there. There's a place in the UP of Michigan that I didn't go this year with COVID, but I would go every year doing Bigfoot research with a group, and along this one river that we go to, the same spot we go every year. We throw rocks in water, they throw rocks in the water. Really? We often think they throw them in the water, indicating the number of Bigfoots that are there, because sometimes you'll hear like 4 or 5 of them come out. At one time they were throwing, the rock was so big it hit a tree on the way out, bounced off the tree and went in the water. So it's definitely their behavior. They like to do that. If they saw you doing it, Mike, they could have been doing it to mimic with you. And again, I don't think that's the bad sign. That's interaction and fun interaction.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily aggressive then.
No, that is. You got to remember. So I was with another researcher in British Columbia a couple of years ago. We're coming out of the woods and we had some activity, and a huge rock came flying out of the trees above us and landed near our ATVs that we were taking. And he looked at me and said, "Nah, that's intimidating. We got to get out of here. What do we do now?" And I looked at him. I said, "You realize they could have hit you in the head with that rock if they wanted to."
Yeah, I don't think they would miss if they wanted.
Right. So, in that case, they want us to leave. It was a warning. But if they want to hit you with it, why wouldn't they be using rocks to kill prey? So I'm sure they're probably pretty adept at throwing those things wherever they want.
Yeah. That's interesting. We, all of us at the same time. That did not come out of the water. That came from above, but
Yep.
it made a fun trip.
That's great. You've had some good experiences.
We have a lot of questions coming through, but we're out of time, so we'll have to do this again.
Yes,
we really appreciate you joining all my chaos today, Rick. I apologize for everything that happened today. Next time we do this, it'll be better. Real quick, though, we had a drawing on my birthday over Halloween, and we're going to announce the winner tonight. So they got a beanie, and I'm going to give them some Destination Mystery stickers, and also a IKnowSquatch sticker, if that's okay.
All right, cool.
And we're going to draw the winner real quick.
Nice.
Pete the Lens.
Pete the Lens. One. I'll get with you on Instagram, Pete, and let you know, or we'll send this stuff to you. Anything else you want to add real quick, Rick? Or
No, Melissa, Mike, I enjoyed, talking with you, getting to know you, chat a little bit about Bigfoot. It's one of my favorite topics too. It's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. It's a fun topic. It's researching Bigfoot. It's something, I'm committed to. I've been at it a long time, and I'll be out on an expedition in the next week up in Kentucky. So, it's one of those things that we don't know everything about. I don't pretend to know all the answers, but keep an open mind and you get out and about. Never know what you might learn. And I appreciate, supporting IKnowSquatch and mentioning what we're all about. And I'd love to do it again with you.
That'd be awesome. You can find him again on his Facebook page, Instagram page, and that's where you would also grab. There's links for the merch and stuff too. And the book is on your merch site too, also. So.
Yep. Very cool.
All right. Well, until next time. Find your own destination.
And solve the mystery.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Rick. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.